Spider-Man the movie for any console can best be described as two different games. One game that has really good outdoor levels that are a lot of fun, and one that has indoor levels that are plagued by a host of problems, which includes sort of bad camera angles and generally sort of twitchy controls. The fact that Spider-Man the movie is actually based on the movie is sort of its downfall. I mean, the game has really great outdoor levels, and you would think that if the development team had a little more freedom, that they would be able to focus on the better parts of the game, which are the outdoor levels, as opposed to the indoor levels, which are really sort of not as fun. There's a lot of problems with them, but they have to stick with that because that's what was in the movie. The game is actually really similar to the previous Spider-Man games that have appeared on the PlayStation and the Dreamcast. The control scheme is really similar, although now they added an enhanced feature, which basically gives you a web mod button instead of having to press like up, down, left, or right, and then the web slinging key. So it's actually easier to control the webbing at certain points. Spider-Man basically has all the same moves that he had in the previous games. He can do the web slinging, he can do zip lines, he can tie up criminals, he can shoot web balls at them. But the major difference between Spider-Man the movie and the previous games is that as you go through the game, you'll find new combinations that Spider-Man can use when he's attacking enemies hand-to-hand. Throughout the game, you'll see these little yellow Spider-Man icons, and you pick these up, you'll get new combinations, and there's dozens of combinations you can find throughout the game, and then some are more well hidden than others, but you'll get rewarded in the end if you try and look for them. The gameplay is actually a mixture of just your basic beat 'em up as well as some puzzle solving and just finding items. In most of the early levels, you just basically be going through each level and fighting criminals. In later levels, you'll have to disarm bombs, you'll have to rescue hostages. In one level, the museum, you have to rescue police officers before they get beat up by the criminals there. The enemy AI in the game is really sort of mixed. Most of the criminals are pretty dumb. I mean, they'll just run into walls and kind of just stay in position. They'll dance around if you go up on the ceiling, and they won't really know what to do. But there are some times where just the regular criminals do some pretty cool things. Like if you jump on their backs, eventually they'll just start running around and they'll run into a wall to get you off their back. But basically they're pretty dumb, and they just run towards you and start punching or shooting, and you'll be able to take care of them pretty quick. The boss characters, on the other hand, are actually really surprising. Some of the later bosses in the games will actually learn your combinations. PlayStation 2 version looks good, but again, it has quite a bit of slowdown in comparison to the two other versions of the game. When you're in the outdoor levels, it's a little less apparent unless there are a bunch of enemies on screen at once, but in the indoor levels, it's actually a lot worse because there's a little more special effects going on, such as when water hits the ground or when steam's coming up from a vent, it tends to slow down quite a bit. But overall, the character models look good. They're all detailed. The environments are really detailed. The textures all look really crisp and clean. So it's definitely a good-looking PlayStation 2 game. The CG cutscenes in the game are modeled after the movie, so you can expect to see the same sort of dramatic camera angles of Spider-Man swinging through the air, rescuing hostages, and all that sort of thing. Even though they had Tobey Maguire do the voice for Spider-Man in the actual game, the voice work is sort of questionable. It's not horrible, but you can tell that some of the voice actors just really aren't into what they're doing, and it's just sort of flat, and it doesn't really add all that much to the game. The other elements of sound in the game are all generic action sounds. I mean, most of them have been basically just ripped straight from the previous Spider-Man games. I mean, the web slinging sounds are the same, and the punch sounds are identical to the previous games. Overall, the game is pretty fun. I mean, there's enough little Spider-Man nuances to keep it cool. You know, you'll have fun being able to web slinging between skyscrapers, and just seeing how wide the outdoor environments are is really cool. The indoor levels, a lot of people are probably going to have a problem with those because the camera just is so bad. You can only rotate the camera left and right, but sometimes it won't even let you do that, so it gets a little problematic in the later levels, especially when you really need to use the camera a lot. But overall, I think those who really enjoyed the previous Spider-Man games will probably enjoy playing this one, and those who are new to Spider-Man will probably really have fun in the outdoor levels and probably make it worth playing. This is a game that you should definitely rent first. It's fun in the outdoor levels, but like I said, again, in indoor levels, there's so many problems, and it's so frustrating at times that you just want to throw your controller out the window. It's got so many of those little problems that just add up. So you'll definitely want to rent it first to check it out, see if you like it.